everyone wants to use data, but very few actually trust it. So what starts as a data lake often shifts into something else entirely, a dumping ground of disconnected, messy assets that no one can easily navigate or explain. That's what we call a data swamp. And it's more than just inefficient, it creates real business, operation, and compliance risks. Problem only gets bigger once AI and machine learning comes into play. Leaders start questioning model outputs because they can't trace where the data came from, how it was transformed, or why the model reached a certain decision. In regulated industries, that lack of transparency makes it harder to explain predictions, satisfying good auditors, and scale AI initiatives. We see the same story unfold again and again. A pipeline breaks after a schema change that no one bothered to flag. Business applications deliver inconsistent results because upstream dependencies aren't fully understood. And AI models behave unpredictably when trained on unverified or incomplete data. And without visibility, teams spend their time firefighting issues instead of driving innovation. The truth is, AI analytics can thrive in a swamp. To move forward, you need clarity. You need to know what data you have, where it comes from, how it moves, which pipelines, models, and business applications depend on it. And that's why we'll dig into the data swamp challenge and show how the modern lakehouse paradigm changes the game. With automated metadata harvesting, cataloging, and end-to-end lineage, you can actually transform a fragmented environment with proper tools, we'll discuss the tools, into a trusted, governed ecosystem, one where your data is clear and explainable. So, Ramiz, how often do you see data lakes slip into swamps when governance and lineage aren't in place? I'm just curious to know.
This is like, it is way more common, right? And it's usually the reason that happens is like because everybody, including myself, we talked about data governance. If you look at the word governance, before you want to govern your data, what are you governing? That's the first question that we always struggle to answer. Like, what am I really governing? Okay, I want to do data governance. I have a strategy. People get together in meetings, they get into workshops, they come up with a strategy. That's great. Then you suffer from how does that strategy actually gets executed? The execution engine is the problem, right? What is the execution engine? Is it just metadata? Is it just data catalog? Is it just lineage? It is a combination of one or two or three different things. I have existing tools. How do I continue to use them? I don't want to rip and replace anything. I mean, those are all the challenges that go through in people's mind. And what ends up happening is either people think of like, oh, either I need to rip everything and start again, or I need to keep band-aiding more and more and more until I hopefully get to a solution. And you give it another 2 or 3 years and something else changes. Oh, Gen AI comes in and now all of your strategy is out of the window again. So this is a very common issue. It continues to be the issue because I think we were all focused on data lakehouses or data mesh. How do I bring my data? Do I do federated querying or a single platform? And while we were doing all this and organizations were going through these changes, Gen AI came in and completely flipped this whole script, right? People were like, what is my AI strategy? Right. Okay, what is my data strategy for AI? Now, suddenly people are like, what is my governance strategy? And we are back to square one. Same problem, not solved in the past, and now it needs to be solved now.
It's changing our lives entirely. Let's face it. But here's the problem. A data swamp is really just what happens when growth gets out of hand. And imagine building a data lake, but never standardizing how data comes in or keeping track of it. Pretty soon, no one knows the context, no one owns it, and people stop trusting the data. And governance teams are left, constantly reacting instead of steering, instead of being proactive. And that's the real lesson. Data lakes don't fail because the technology is bad. They fail because there is no metadata or governance to keep them on track. So, Ramiz, from your perspective, how far do organizations really need to go in governing their data lakes to avoid ending up in that swarm state?
I think it is at the all layers of the when I say the data ecosystem. If I look at the map of what does it take, data strategy, data architecture has to be fixed first to really have the strong foundations for agentic AI, Gen AI. And it has to be empowering for the business users because they need to understand. They might not care whether my pipeline runs at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. The data engineering is like plumbing. As long as you keep getting water in your house, you don't care about your data engineering folks. And suddenly, when the water stops, you call the plumber, you call your data engineer, and your pipeline stops. So the business user needs to know what data they have, how is it getting processed, and who's using it. That data democratization is a word that has been thrown around for probably 20 years already. We still are not able to get there. And do we necessarily have to get there by just opening the data to everyone? No. I think data democratization means people who need to use the data with the right use cases, with the right level of access, can get to it as soon as possible. That is how I look at it, right? It's not about giving up the control of your boundaries. So it's a business users who need to feel comfortable. The business leaders need to feel comfortable that the technology is delivering value for them. They're able to find data, and the engineering teams have to be also empowered. They need to have this information. If business is coming in and saying, "Hey, I need to create a new column in this new table," they don't just go. They shouldn't have to just go and write code and run 10 scripts to find out what is inside the table. How is it getting there? They should just be able to just go and look at and have tools where they can just look up the impact analysis before impact actually happens. So make it pre-impact analysis rather than, oh, impact has happened, now let's analyze it.